All right, we are here, and I'm very excited to introduce Cindy Nolte, and you are a managing partner with Pop Machine Agency, which I cannot wait for you to tell us where that name came from. And we're very excited to learn more about what you do, what makes you guys special right here in Wichita, Kansas. So I'm just going to start by asking you, Cindy, what do you do and for how long?
Well, I have been in advertising and marketing and PR for my entire career. The first half of my career, though, was working for corporations, so in-house. And then about 20 years ago, um, decided to join the agency world and have remained in that. That was when I had my son, and it was just a nice change. It just allowed me a little more freedom, to be honest, and it was just a good time to do that. So I've stayed in the agency world, and it was I've been a partner in, well, this is actually longer than 20 years ago, but for a while I was a partner in a political consulting agency doing PR and marketing and working with the research team. But then when I started 22 years ago, it was just mostly focusing on public relations. And I subcontracted to some big agencies and enjoyed doing that very much, and kept that up for quite a few years. Briefly merged for a while with a partner for Stuckey Nolte, and uh, we probably we'd worked together for many years on projects on different clients. It probably wasn't a very good time though to form our own agency. It just didn't feel right to us at the time. We refer work to each other now, and so everything was worked out beautifully. But then I met Mike Moen about 4 years ago, I guess, when I was collaborating with Fresh Horses, and Mike he had just left a corporate job and was doing digital marketing, and we just matched well in terms of our skill set and our personalities. And I would say our personalities match well because they're really very different in some regard. But we formed Pop Machine Agency and did it right before a pandemic. So that was, not the best real, business move, but it turned out to work to our favor. So
Good.
that's what we've been doing. And so we have a full service marketing. They used to call them an ad agency, but we really, most of the time, it's now referred to as marketing agencies. And we have a full service marketing agency. We can provide any service an ad agency would. With our clients, I do handle the public relations component for them. If there's any media buying to be done, that I will take care of that, unless it's a big load, then we will have someone else do it. But we don't do as much of that as we do with marketing strategy, public relations strategy, and branding and that sort of thing. So that's basically what we do now. And I know I'm going on and on. We did also start Pop Machine Labs.
Tell us about that.
A while back. That is a branch or an offshoot of Pop Machine Agency that works only with NFT clients. And we work with clients around the world, helping them plan their marketing for NFT projects, launches. And so it's a little bit different. It's just more focused on the crypto world, and it is focused internationally, more so than Pop Machine Agency.
Okay.
So we have that, but it's part of the agency, but yet it's kind of an offshoot. So we have a separate website for it. And
it's interesting that you can have a client anywhere in the world now, isn't it?
It is. It is.
I mean,
it means I have to stay up sometimes late at night or early in the morning, but yeah, it is. It's fun because it is so simple to just get on a Zoom meeting with someone anywhere in the world at any time. And I love that.
Yeah, I didn't tell you I'm in France today. I'm kidding. Okay.
But very envious.
I know, right?
Mademoiselle.
So who would be Pop Agency's ideal customer then? Or
Well, for Pop Machine, our client base is pretty broad. We've worked with a lot of small businesses. Uh, we also work with large businesses. You know, we have, for instance, Conklin Cars is one of our agencies or one of our
Oh,
customers.
wonderful.
Yeah. So we have a variety of sizes. Uh, both of us have strong backgrounds working with large corporations. And Mike worked with one of the biggest corporations around for some time. So we have the ability to take on large clients,
Okay.
which is probably our ideal client.
Okay.
But yeah, we have a lot of small businesses that we enjoy working with also.
Good. Okay. So you mentioned COVID earlier and that you'd started your business around that time. Are there any business changes you had considered that COVID-19 made a necessity?
Well, yes. We actually had just started trying to grow and realized it would be foolish to take on more office space than we had at the time, which was small, because it was just not going to work. We got lucky, though, I think, in that we had not already um, bit that bite out of the apple. We didn't already have a big office that we were paying for. So the timing actually for us was a blessing, if there's any such thing in a pandemic. We were able to grow with everyone working from home. So that was nice. I think we'll continue to have a lot of people work from home. So that was good for us. And it was nice also that we didn't have to lay people off. We were grateful for that.
Right.
And no other agencies struggled, and we did not. We did not grow as much as we wanted to, but we held steady. And I think that was very fortunate during that period of time.
So is the other company that you have, you called it your lab, the lab, was it formed after COVID or during it, or when was that?
It was just actually formed within the last year, I guess. So kind of after.
Okay.
But it was formed when NFTs were just starting to really take off, and we would get calls, multiple calls every week from clients around the world wanting to launch NFT projects. And it's been fun because we've had to learn a whole new type of marketing.
Okay.
But it's been to our advantage also that both Mike and I have a lot of traditional marketing in our background, because in the crypto world and NFT world, youth it's all about youth in some regard. What we found out, though, was with marketing, there were a lot of people saying they were marketing agencies for NFTs that had no marketing experience. What they were really doing was they were an influencer. They weren't really an agency. So it worked out great for us because we were an agency. We were able to pivot enough that we developed a strong base of influencers that we can work with for projects. So we were much more strategic than a 19-year-old influencer who said he or she is a marketing agency.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah, we actually brought strategy to the table.
Sometimes it's hard to see who you're dealing with behind the digital screen.
It is.
And the music and the fun stuff, I suppose.
Yeah, it is.
Would you say, what is the definition of that NFT? What's that stand for?
It stands for non-fungible token.
Okay.
And I kind of describe it as it's a piece of art that's also currency. A lot of businesses are starting to create their own NFT pieces as promotional tools. They kind of became famous when there was an organization, they called themselves Bored Apes Yacht Club. They created these, and this group of young men became multimillionaires almost literally overnight. And that really elevated the visibility of non-fungible tokens. they're minted. What makes them valuable is that they're minted online. So, people will say, well, can't I just, put my NFT up there and sell it? And no, you can't, because they're minted on like OpenSeas, which is a platform for that.
Okay.
So it'd be like, let's say you had an Andy Warhol painting. You own it, the original. You can mint that if it were an NFT on OpenSeas. You still own the original, but then people can buy copies, much like a poster.
Okay.
So that's what people are selling. They're selling the originals, but they can't be copied and sold for a high value because they're registered online.
As an original.
That makes sense?
It does. So I imagine you may get some contact from people who are seeing this interview about that. And what was I going to say?
It is kind of an odd. It's kind of an odd notion to get used to, because the artwork is not traditional artwork necessarily, and it has utilities built into it. But for instance, we consulted with an agency out of New York City who were starting their branch of NFT marketing, and they just recently launched NFTs for Tiffany jewelry store.
Oh, okay.
And they're very expensive, and they have sold out.
Well, whatever we decide to give value to, that's what has value.
That is exactly right. So this is sort of art for a new generation that is more digital.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you were able to bring the strategic approach and experience to that group, because it may not have made it, without it, so.
Yeah, it's been very interesting, because a lot of the projects were fast turnaround when the NFT started taking off, and people would anticipate that they could make, $90 million in a few hours, and some could, but not everyone could. And it was very interesting to watch the market just kind of shift and finally settle down. There are fewer of those launches where everything's sold out in a few hours and someone's gotten rich.
Okay.
This has become much more defined and intentional. The artwork is getting better. They're hooking up with brands. There are galleries set up on the metaverse where people will be able to go in and look at different NFTs and artwork. So
they're leveraging the resources that are available.
Right. It's maturing. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. We talked about the COVID. I think you pretty much answered that. So since you've been a business owner, what's been your biggest learning since you started as a business owner?
Well, okay, for me, because I've always been more on the creative side of things. My biggest learning curve was just with the technical aspects of starting a business, the tax stuff, the accounting stuff, that sort of thing, the paperwork, and learning to stay on top of all that.
Right.
It's not part of my genetic makeup to be able to do that naturally.
Okay.
So
it's the number one reason for failure in businesses is the owner is burned out from doing everything and doing things you're not gifted in doing as a chore. So it's kind of interesting that you describe that as your biggest learning. It's a good thing we don't know how hard it is to be business owners when we first start out.
That is very true. That is true. Although I have found that everyone's willing to help if you just ask. I mean, even if you have to call, the Secretary of State about paperwork, they're willing and able to help. The problem is people don't know when to ask, or they don't know what you need to ask for.
Yeah, we see that in coaching. Our strategy in coaching is to get them where they couldn't go by themselves a lot faster.
Yes.
That's basically it. They could get there without us, but just like you could get someplace maybe without an accountant, but it would take you a lot longer and it wouldn't be near as fun.
Yeah. Yes. And so both my partner and I have had to learn to use some software that has helped us tremendously, and to hire people to help also,
Yeah, good, good.
so we don't go to prison or something.
Right. When don't want you to do that. So we do publish this interview in a newsletter. Do you have any offer that you would like to offer the people who are reading it or who are watching, will be watching the video later?
I think sometimes people are hesitant to call us for help because they feel like they can't afford an agency. We always, it's not really an offer, but we always are willing to talk to anyone to help them get started or explain how it works with no obligation.
I think that's a wonderful. They don't know the questions they need to ask maybe until you have
Exactly.
a
Exactly.
conversation. And then
Yeah.
if they do need you and you can help them,
Right.
they're already there.
Right. Exactly. And if people are honest with us with their budget, we can, figure out how they can take on the bulk of the workload with just some instructions from us.
Mm-hmm.
Or we try very hard to work with small businesses in that regard.
Okay. I
I
think
think they're
people,
intimidated to ask for an agency help.
yeah, well, I'm glad you offer that. I think that's great. So last question, what was most inspiring about today in this interview?
Oh, inspiring. Gosh.
An agency question, you know?
Yeah. I know that it's inspiring so much. It's always helpful for someone to talk about what they do a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of gets you recharged.
Yeah, I'm
And
glad to hear that.
yeah, and
Because
kind of back on track.
what you do is exciting, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. And you forget that until
Mm-hmm.
you get to talk about it.
Yeah, we get so accustomed to what we do, we think it's a normal thing
Yeah,
for people, and it's not. What you have
exactly.
in your arsenal is probably magical, really. If you
Well, let's say, yeah, I like to think that.
okay, well, there you go. That's what was inspirational to you. You have reinforcement that what you offer is magical.
Yeah.
So, well, this will be the end of our interview. So I want to thank you very much for your time. And so I will be talking to you soon, and I look forward to seeing this article in print and also on video.